Mr. McGuire, welcome to the committee.
Good morning, Mr. Chairperson, or Chairman, and committee members. My name is George McGuire, and I came to speak today to you, and I want to first of all thank you for letting me come talk. I'm 48 years old, and last night my wife and I celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. I have 3 children. I have a 17-year-old daughter, I have a 14-year-old son, and a boy that just turned 10. I purchased Shakopee Chevrolet after managing it in 2000, late in 2000, again for millions of dollars worth of goodwill. And in the purchase of Shakopee Chevrolet, I purchased a business that I had been operating profitably for years before that. And when I purchased it, I took out a loan on everything I own because I don't come from a family that my father owned the business before that, and before that his father. I come from a background where I went to Minneapolis Southwest High School. I worked very hard. I saved my money. I invested it wisely, paid down my mortgages, and I took everything I owned in my entire life and I put it into purchasing the dealership. I borrowed as much money as I possibly could and invested every nickel that my family could scrape up, and I bought a thriving business. That business has been profitable for years. 2/3 of what I've bought the business for, I've been able to pay by reducing my debt from the profits. So I've used the profits to pay my debts down and pay taxes. I live in the same house that I built 20 years ago and paid off. I live a very standard life. When GM terminated my dealership, they essentially took everything that I've done and threw it out the window. Everything that I did in America, which is work hard, save your money, put it towards a business, and employ people, they smashed it for no purpose at all. My dealership doesn't cost General Motors a nickel. I buy everything I buy from them. I'm sure they make a profit. I purchase, on average, about $14 million worth of merchandise from GM and its subsidiaries on an annual basis. If GM doesn't find out or figure out how to make money on that, that's not my fault. So as I go through the process, I take a look at the situation and I decide, just like these other gentlemen here, how are they using my tax dollars to turn around and level me and my employees? And I think you'll find it rather frightening. On May 15th, I received a wind-down letter from General Motors that said, generally speaking, we're not going to renew your franchise agreement in October of 2010. Now, you folks set up legislation to protect us in that situation. So when GM filed bankruptcy on June 2nd, we received a wind-down agreement. And the wind-down agreement that I think virtually everybody here signed is essentially life support until they terminate you. And in that wind-down agreement, it actually says that at GM's pleasure, we can continue on doing business with them after December 31st, but we will not be doing business with them after October of 2010. But we also can't buy any cars from them, so they've cut off their own profit source. And there's many other things that we're not allowed to do, not allowed to have access. So as I take a look at this whole thing and I step back and I say, why me? Why my store? I'm a profitable business that's well capitalized. I've done exactly what you're supposed to do, which is keep working capital inside your company. So in tough times like it is right now, your company can survive. And so I've done exactly that. I've kept a well-capitalized business profitable and employ approximately 40 people. My employees in the service side of them are Teamsters 974 union people. These are jobs that, this isn't working for $7 an hour. These are jobs that pay home mortgages, that put braces on kids' teeth, buy them new sneakers, pay for volleyball or hockey practice. So this is a substantial type of situation. And when I take a look at it and I say, what's going to happen to my employees? Well, if you're a Teamsters 974 employee, for 20 years, Shakopee Chevrolet has been making their pension payments. And for 20 years, we've been writing out checks every month so that they have a retirement plan. Part of the pension plan requires that they're 30 years vested. So approximately 20 years into it, they're going to be terminated, maybe 21 years into it, they're going to lose their pensions or their vesting. We have many people that are 50 years plus, 55 years old, that have been planning on retiring with their pensions, which are substantial. So I will pay for 20 years into their pension plan, and the day I lose my franchise, because the pension is tied to the franchise, I no longer am able to contribute to their pensions. They become wiped out. Every one of them will lose their pension vesting. Now, of course, they could perhaps go to work at another remaining dealer. But since so many dealers have been flattened, there isn't jobs. And quite frankly, who's going to hire a person that's 55 years old that has different work rules to go work at the other place? So they're going to be looking at a later part of their career where I've paid for their pensions, but they won't have them. They're going to be left with home mortgages, left with child, funds and expenses, left with college, no ability to pay for college. And then, as a twist of fate, I am handed a bill because of Central States, which is Teamsters Pension Fund, is underfunded significantly. My business is handed a bill for between $1.5 million and $2 million that I'm personally responsible for if I take any cash out of the company. Now, in a normal fashion, where if you fail under the survival of the fittest plan, which is how our country is essentially founded, there wouldn't be anything left in the corporation. You would be bankrupt if you fail and go out of business. But in my case, that's not the case at all. We have a well-capitalized, profitable business. So, in effect, what happens is my whole entire family's net worth will be decimated at that same point because I'll be responsible for paying my pension liability. So, in the end, I'll be left with a mortgage on my business, which my house is cross-collateralized for, that I paid for prominently. I didn't do one of these fly-or-lie mortgages. I'll be left with a mortgage on my business, as I said. I'll be left paying a pension payment that my employees won't get. They won't get one nickel of it. And 40 quality jobs in my community are gone. And then when you start talking about all the related vendors, the people I do business with and the people that they do business with, we're talking about a significant number. The number on our badge says, 3,400 approximately. But that number is easily much, much larger than that. It's probably 5,000 or 6,000 quality jobs. So as I take a look at it, I don't understand, because the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution says you can't take my private property for public good without paying me. And you can't do it without a course of legal action. We've had none of this. We haven't had a chance to speak to anybody. You call GM, they don't return your calls. I'm certain it's the same with Chrysler. There is no communication with anybody. And as I step back and I think to myself, in conclusion, just imagine if George McGuire owed the Minnesota Department of Revenue tax dollars and they came to collect from me. Do you think it would work if I said, no, that was old George? See, new George has all the assets but none of the responsibilities. Well, that's effectively what General Motors did. When you took at the letter that I got today that was provided to you by General Motors, there isn't a single piece of factual item in here. Not one. We don't cost them anything. I am a strong dealer, and they're eliminating my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire.